Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another Minecraft discussion here at the Notch, where it's Trey Gorge. That's Frances for very, very beautiful. And my name is Kimberly Quinn, and I'm in the humidity with the bugs, so bear with me. I might have to cut out, like I'm super tolerant with, but this is the gnats, those little ones, you know. The deer flies can lift you up and carry you away, but they're also slow, so smack, too bad, so sad, you know, then be gone. Anyway, so I also occasionally swallow a gnat or two. It's protein, but ugh, you know, yuck. Okay, so today I was just actually very spontaneously inspired, and I don't know from where. I was just kind of walking along the trail, and I came over here because it might rain under the little gazebo here. Workplace politics, and all of a sudden I was just kind of inspired, and so I wanted to have a talk about that today with some tips, because it started to just flow. So I thought to myself, find a spot you can not be rained on and go forward. So here's the thing. So the number one first tip with that, well, I would say the number one first tip with that is to breathe deeply. Just breathe deeply, because when we do this, it's not touchy-feely. It's actually an immediate neurological reset, bringing the mind from the future or the past into the present. So that would be my first one. Breathe deeply. If you can do it for a solid minute alone in your office or in the bathroom, go duck in a stall, then people leave you alone for sure. And just breathe deeply and realize it's an actual neurological reset. It's not, we're not making that up. And that will help right off the bat. The next one is to realize that 99% of it, 99%, or well, let's just say the high majority of workplace politics is just another way to say ego-driven nonsense or dysfunctional egoic thinking. It's all come from the ego, like all of it. So when we realize that when people, these can be good people. No one's saying they're not good people. We all fall into it, especially when we're being hyped by people around us sometimes. There's that whole social facilitation thing that we just, keep it going. But realize that when people, maybe good people when good people are feeling whole and complete, they don't say and do things that disrupt the lives of others and cause them any kind of discomfort, angst, never mind the biggies, like shame and things like that. So it's all dysfunctional egoic thinking. Nonsense coming, the ego's looking for stuff to elevate at other people's expense and all that stuff. Also, there's that whole group think thing where it's the us and them thing that often goes on, even with educated adults. It just does. We sometimes fall into it, and we get into judging and things like that. And Brene Brown, I'm thinking of her right now, she sometimes says, why do we do that? And she says, because it feels so good in the moment, right? To judge and jump on that wagon. We all feel the same way about so-and-so and that. And it has like a half-life, because then after that, we don't feel so good. Okay, so the first one is breathe. The second one is to realize that politics are coming from the ego, nowhere authentic. The authentics don't want anything to do with it. Okay, so the third thing is, therefore, to ignore it as much as possible. Do I realize that's easier said than done? Of course I do. Of course I do. I'm also saying step out of the current and choose your battles. So actually, that was number 4 too. So number 3, ignore it as much as possible. As much as possible. Just step out. So that means to resist the urge to bite into the shenpa. We talked about that shenpa feeling, which is Sanskrit for, I don't think, any direct translation. But when somebody says something to us that really gives us that feeling, like they kind of get us on the inside. Our urge back, our knee jerk is to say something back, react versus respond, right? Reacting is knee jerk and fast and usually doesn't go anywhere good. Whereas taking some deep breaths, leaving some time before you actually say something, where you respond is better. So ignore it and try not to bite the hook on the shenpa feeling. If I'm going to say something bad, I'm going to go talk to 3 people and get validation for this. Okay, so ignore, resist the shenpa urge to bite that hook, okay? And then, I forgot what I said after that. Ignore. Choose your battles. Just like with teenagers. I mean, if as parents, if we reacted or responded or whatever, the teenagers reacted, I would say mostly, to every single thing that they said, and did we lose our minds? So sometimes you're doing like this as a parent, because you want to just say so much, been down that road, you're not listening, I know better than you. Of course we do. We're old, of course. I should say season's way better. Of course we know better. And the thing is, they got to learn stuff on their own at some point. It doesn't mean We don't protect them from the big stuff, certainly. I'm talking about all those, just like the politics of the house kind of thing. I'm talking about politics of the workplace. All the she said, he said drama they come home with. Got to ignore it. It doesn't mean don't listen. Listen. You can listen and then ignore. So we want to do that in the workplace too. Actively listen, of course, because the relationships only get better when we actively listen. And then choose your battles. Is this really worth it? Just ask yourself, is this, all of this noise worth my valuable life minutes? I'm going to guess the high majority of the time the answer is no, it isn't worth it. It just isn't worth it. Okay. And then I was inspired just now on the trail that's over there to come over here. Don Miguel Ruiz came in my head, and I've read the book, The Four Agreements, a gazillion times, used it for my classes and such. And he just came in my head again because he's exactly what we all need to hear when we get, wrapped up in workplace politics that can feel like quicksand. The more we struggle, the deeper we sink, right? Especially when people are in a position of power doing things that they maybe shouldn't say and do or whatever. That just makes it all more challenging, right? So Don Miguel Ruiz and his Four Agreements comes from ancient Toltec wisdom from, I believe, Mexico. Anyway, so one of them, there might not be an order, but this is what they are. My favorite one is the don't take things personally. Realize when people are coming from an authentic place where they feel whole and complete, they wouldn't be doing any of this, right? So now that's how this validates this whole conversation. Therefore, it makes no sense, since they're coming from their own filter and place of ego, to take any of it personally. Am I saying that's easy? No. Is it that simple? Yes, we have simple, easy. It's definitely that simple. Remind yourself, this is about them. 99, whatever percent, pick high majority of this is about them, even if they're in a position of power. Am I saying you need to verbalize it to them? No. Just know it in your head and be quietly effective. Don't let it affect your life minutes in your day. Just don't. Whatever's about them. It might be tough to take. You might need to go on a walk. Again, duck into the bathroom stall if you need to breathe. But don't take it personally. That's such a great rule, or as Don Miguel Ruiz would say, an agreement in life. And I live by that one. Don't take it personally. It's a drama buster. When you don't bite the hook, which is what they want, it also stops faster. It stops faster because they're not getting any kind of reward from it. Just be quietly effective, step out of the noise, move forward. Okay, another thing is, again, they may not be in order. Be impeccable with your word. Be impeccable with your word. So when we're impeccable with our word as much as possible, because again, we're dealing with human beings, right? This is also another drama reducer, because when we say what we mean and mean what we say, when talking with fellow colleagues, coworkers, employees, whatever, and that's true in life in general. We're just staying with the workplace thing right now. When we are impeccable with our word, think of what it prevents. If we're saying what we actually mean and mean to say, it gets rid of, again, the majority of it. If we really take a deep breath and think about what we say before we say it. Okay, especially for leaders, please hear me with that one. And then another one is, don't make assumptions. We are assumption-making machines. As you know, I teach cognitive psychology in addition to Minecraft. Cog Psych is also what my doctorate's in. And we are kind of wired to make assumptions. So it's an uphill lift to stop ourselves from doing so, because the reason we do it sort of organically is it's a time saver for the brain. Doesn't work out well most of the time. We just make assumptions. That's system one part of the brain, which comes from Daniel Kahneman, actually. That's system one thing. So we don't want to be on automatic pilot. We want to shift into system two thinking, which is the more slow down. Oh, hear that bird? That's so cool. Slow down thought that's based on fact. We want to engage our Sherlock Holmes thought process, not our Watson process. I'm rattling off all these people now. I didn't even plan this, I swear. Maria Konnikova, who wrote the book Mastermind, and it's about the system 1 and 2, like Daniel Kahneman, only she uses Sherlock and Watson as examples of this, which is great. Watson's kind of in the moment, just says whatever, and impulsively thinking and doing and all that stuff. Whereas Sherlock is a slow down, get the facts kind of thing. When we make assumptions, it does not go well for us. When we shift into system 2, which is Sherlock, which takes all the observations, all the facts, and then responds, not reacts, that's huge. Okay, and then lastly is to set the bar, do our best, which I say lots, because that perfection thing, to drop the P word is worse than dropping the F-bomb. It just is. Perfectionism is self-abuse of the highest order. And I believe Anne Shave is one who said that. Perfectionism is self-abuse of the highest order. So there we have it. Let's just repeat quickly. I might miss some stuff because I did this on the fly, honest. This feels so natural. I love it when it just flows. It's the flow. Okay, and that's the work of Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. It's just wild. This stuff's all in my head today. Just kind of, it must be just like it's universe talking or something. I don't know. Okay, so breathe first, right? Breathe, and then we'll talk about the 4 agreements. Don't take things personally. Don't make assumptions. Be impeccable with your word. I know I had those in reverse order, and do the best you can. Also, ignore as much as possible, and choose your battles, and realize that workplace dynamics, most of all, are nothing more than ego noise, just dysfunctional egoic thinking, egotistical nonsense. Because when people are in their authentic frame, doing the backstroke in their own authenticity, they don't have any desire in the world to disrupt anyone else's life rhythm or harmony. They just don't. Or to make people feel badly on any level or inadequate on any level. And so just realize that it's all ego. People trying to elevate themselves at your expense. Just dismiss it. Step out of the noise. Okay, that's it. Tips for workplace politics. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the beautiful Notch at Northern Vermont with little G. Have a mindful, hopefully politics-free day.